Hello and welcome, I am Mal. If you're not familiar with me, I tend to play strategy simulation and role-playing games, and today I'm really excited to share with you Stellaris. Stellaris is a 4X pausable real-time space grand strategy game from Paradox Development Studio. Now it's that grand part you may want to hone in on as I take you through the beginnings of the game. It's quite complex, but so far I have to say that it's I find the game more accessible than some of Paradox's other titles like Crusader Kings II. I was able to sort of jump in and navigate my way around, and while it is complex and there's a lot to learn, I felt like I could get into it easier than I had some of their previous titles. This is a good thing, I think. So in this episode, which I actually am going to refer to as episode 0 in the playlist, will serve as an overview, kind of a jumping off point for the game. I'll cover core information such as planet, ship, and research management, as well as going over all of the sort of critical strategic resources and the user interface for the game. In future episodes, as I expand my galactic reach with my empire and our knowledge, then we'll obviously cover more topics. So I encourage you to sit back, relax, and let's get into this. So as you start a new game, the first thing that we're going to be presented with is this screen, which is the Empire Selection screen. Now there's going to be a bunch of different empires listed, as you can see along the left-hand side over here. You can click on them to look at the various empires that have already been generated by the game. You can also create your own, which I have done, and we'll look at that in more detail in just a minute, but I want to explain some sort of basic characteristics of every empire. So we'll use these happy looking gents here, the Stellaris Confederacy. Okay, so let's take a look. They've got, for government type, they've got direct democracy. They've got +2 core sector planets. I'll get into sector planets and direct controlled and all that stuff later, but essentially this is going to allow them to have more direct control over more planets throughout the course of the game. They've got materialist, so they've got physics, society, and engineering output. Those are bonuses to research. They've got pacifist, so they've got +1 maximum embassy. You can have 3 initially. They're going to have 4 because they've got +1. That's important for dealing with other empires. A lot of times there's border friction or xenophobia or what have you that'll adversely affect your ability to maintain good relationships with other empires. So having any kind of bonus to embassies comes in really handy because over time embassies can make a big difference in your relations with other empires. And then you've got xenophile, so -10% xenophobia. There exists in all of us a deep-seated fascination of the unknown, so they would have better reactions to other alien races. Okay? And then they have charismatic, other species happiness +1%. That's interesting. Their personal happiness, however, is -5%, and happiness is affected by a couple different things, principally the habitat that the type of world that you're on will affect it, and what your affinity is for that world type. In this case, they're ocean, but let's say they were on a different type with a lower habitability score, like for instance, desert. This would stack on top of that, so even if they had the tech to colonize, say, a desert world, they're not going to be super happy about it, and therefore their productivity would be lower, so it's kind of interesting. Natural engineers, they have +15% engineering output. Again, this is not construction, and when it says engineering output, that's towards the engineering research category. And then quick learners, so their leaders gain 25% more experience. That's pretty beefy, actually. Quick learners is a pretty good trait because your leaders, be it your governors, your scientists, your military leaders, or what have you, the faster they can gain experience when they level up, they gain additional traits, kind of like these that you're seeing here, and it can make a big impact. There's 3 different types of starting weapons. There's 3 different types of faster than light travel. And I'll go into these in more detail as we look at our actual custom race. So let's do that. Okay, so here we go. We've got this nice looking bearded gent there. The Malovian Collective. That's right. So let's break this down here. We'll take a look at the scores, or we'll take a look at the information, and then we'll go in sort of for a deep dive. We'll do an edit on this. Okay, so first off, we've got, actually it might be easier to do it that way. Let's just edit. So we go through here and appearance, and I'll go through these just to show you, but like, okay, so here's all sort of the mammal-based ones that you can take, like those guys we just looked at. Here's their little face or whatever, and there's a ton to choose from. Like, I'm sure they'll add even more, but if you can't find something in here that you find sort of cool, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of choices. And that's just for the mammals. And you've got reptilian. Check out some of these guys. Like, look at that guy. He's pretty boss. I almost went with him just because I think he's awesome. Then you've got avian. You've got some bird dudes. This guy's kind of cool. I like this guy too. He's pretty neat. Arthropod. Look at these. Look at this dude. Tell me that guy's not beefy, right? And then you got fungus. Oh, this guy. Look at him. He's proper right there. Very intimidating mushroom top guy. I like him. Anyway, for this first starting one, we're going to keep it not complex for us, and we're going to say, we'll just be human-like. You pick what you want them to be called. We were obviously humans. Then you can pick a name list, which is kind of interesting. There's some pre-generated ones in here, so I defaulted with human 1, so this is the kind of leader names we're going to have, the types of ship names, planets, fleets, and so on. Okay, traits. Oh, which I actually didn't pick. Probably be a good idea if I did that. So we've got 2 points, two trait points left. You can have a maximum of 4, and what you can do is you can take negatives if you want. Yeah, like for instance, non-adaptive or slow breeders. You can take things to give yourself more points because some of these traits actually are really expensive. There was one in here that was like, yeah, 4 points. Vulnerable, but that means that your lifespan of your leaders is increased by 120 years. Yeah, there's some pretty beefy ones. I think for us, though, we're just going to go with... What's intelligent give us? Plus 10% across the board? Okay, I like that. That'll work. So we've got plus 10% engineering output, physics output, society output, and that'll kind of go nicely with what I've chosen in terms of the government and stuff, I think. How much is adaptive? Plus 10% habitability is important. So let me explain that real quick. So if we are, for instance, here, our choice is continental world, which would be like, you know, Earth itself, thus the name. That means that we would have an 80% habitability on those types of worlds. So we colonize them, they're familiar with us, and that kind of sets the top end cap for our happiness. If you have addition, like for instance here, if you're adaptive and I was on that planet, it would be 90%, so on and so forth. So that helps you if you're encountering kind of a lower class world that you're not as familiar with, or it's not what you're accustomed to as a people. This is a trait that would help you with that. Adversely, you could take a non-adaptive if you want to get a point to spend, but I think we'll just take intelligent and we'll keep it at that. Okay, ruler, this is all cosmetic. So, I want my beard back. There we go. That looks pretty good. We'll go with that. You like these clothes? Oh, I like that. That's kind of cool. We'll go with that. That looks beefy. Name. There we go. Now we can choose the class of world. So there are a lot of different ones. And whatever you pick is going to be, like I mentioned earlier, the 80% habitat score is what I'm going to say, since I'm having a hard time saying the other way. So continental world, ocean world, Arctic world, tundra, arid, desert, tropical, and then again back to continental. Now it doesn't really make any difference which one you pick, really. What you discover as you go across the galaxy is completely random. We'll get into what technologies you're going to need, but you have to press pretty quick, pretty early on to make sure that you unlock the tech to colonize other worlds. Otherwise, you're going to find maybe one other one near you, maybe, that your people find suitable, and you're not going to have any growth. But we'll get into all that. So I'm going to go ahead and just take continental world. City appearance, you can choose these different landscapes. This is purely cosmetic. I'll stick with the sort of default humanish one. Okay, now this is where we get some additional complexity. Government and ethics. So you've got 2 rings here. You've got this internal ring, like materialist, individualist, xenophobe, so on and so forth, and they give you different bonuses. You cannot pick, for instance, from the inner ring, I've picked pacifist, which is going to give me an additional embassy. I explained that earlier that having additional embassies is beneficial so that you can try to maintain positive relations with as many of your near neighbors as possible. And it also gives plus 10% food. Now, it's also minus 25% rivalry influence gain, minus 10% army damage, minus 10% war happiness. Okay, so some of those you're like, what? Why would you? That sounds bad. Well, first off, let me break these down one by one for you. So first off, is in terms of the rivalry influence gain being minus 25%. If you declare another empire your rival, it will give you an additional resource to spend, essentially like political influence. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not that big a deal. And as far as army damage, that's for ground forces, not naval. And I have not played, I've only been able to play this game, for like 10, 12 hours so far since I've got access. But I would tell you that I haven't been in a ground conflict yet. That's not to say that I won't. But 10% minus army damage is not that big deal. Now, if I take pacifist, which is what I'm going to do on my internal circle or whatever you want to call it, then I can't take the opposing point of view. I can't take the other ethic on the outside ring. Like if I try to take it, it's gonna be like here, watch. See, fanatic militarist. If I want to be all warlike, then I can't take pacifist on the internal one. And you can see here, I'd get plus 20% army damage, and rivalry influence gain would be 50%, so on and so forth. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take pacifist, and when you take these things, you'll notice over here, it affects what governments are available. So first you pick your ethics, then you pick your government type. So like, for instance, if I wanted a military junta, then, I'd have to take something to qualify for that. If I take pacifist and I hover over here, it says, has militaristic ethic, fanatic militarist ethic. You've got to have one of those, has to be true in order to take this government type. Yeah, so you can't be like, I want a military dictatorship and be like, rawr, go to battle, but then be pacifist. That doesn't work. So I'm going to take pacifist, and then on the outside ring, you've got a lot of different options. Plus 10 happiness, you can take slavery tolerance and minus to food consumption, so on and so forth. But I really want to try to make my guys all researchy. So what we're going to do is we're going to take fanatic materialist, so plus 10% across the board to physics, society, and engineering, which are the three research types. We're going to take that. And then over here for government, there's really two. There's this despotic hegemony, and there's this enlightened monarchy. These are both good, I think, in terms of what I'm trying to do here, because I like the research speed, plus 5%, and then survey speed for the science vessels, plus 10%. That's good for, I guess that helps a little bit. The survey speed's not that big a deal, but the plus 5 research speed is nice. And then the ruler can build an elite assault army. Again, these are ground forces. That's not that interesting to me. It's the 5% research that is. And then enlightened monarch is kind of cool, because you get plus one core sector planets, and plus 25% edict duration. And I'll explain edicts once we jump in, but they're essentially long-term policies that you can set either empire-wide or planet-based that'll do things like increase your growth or increase the type of research you're getting or what have you. Let's see. Just a flat plus 10% for democracy. That's not bad either. Nah, I think I'm pretty much set on this one, yeah. We're gonna be despots. Plus 5 research speed. This government is a militaristic form of autocracy where citizens are viewed as little more than cogs in the state machinery. Oh man, that kind of feels bad. Alright, what about an enlightened monarchy? This government is a pacifist form of an autocrat. Okay, maybe we should go with this. This theme's better with us. This government is a pacifistic form of autocracy where the ruler is viewed as an enlightened protector. Alright, we'll do that one then. So I like the plus 25% edict duration. That'll work. Alright. Good there. Oh, the flag. Right. Okay, so I already have the flag that I want, but look at this in terms of choices. You can choose between any of these, and then you can change the colors, and you can change the design behind it. It's really cool. You can spend sort of a ridiculous amount of time just doing this, just creating your empire, which I think it's pretty neat. Okay, and now you have the three starting weapon choices, and they do have an impact not only in future research that you get along those lines, but obviously they're very different from each other. So you have projectile weapons, which are short range, relatively good damage weapons. You have energy weapons, which are mid-range direct fire weapons. I've used these pretty extensively so far, and they seem pretty solid. And then you've got missile weapons, which are slow and can be countered, but they can be fired from long distances. I'm going to go with projectile weapons, because the one thing I didn't like about the energy weapons so much, and I did get projectile weapons partway through my other playthrough that I did by myself, the energy weapons suck up a lot of energy, so once you get low-end defenses like deflector shields and whatnot, I don't know, I found that I had a hard time fielding the energy weapons, whereas projectile weapons seem to use less power. So, I want to try them out. Okay, and then this can radically change your experience. So be very aware of this decision, your faster than light method. I'll go through these briefly. You've got warp travel, which essentially allows you to move anywhere you want with your ships, but it's pretty slow. But you can go anywhere you want. You don't have to worry too much about other people's borders or things blocking your way. Then you've got hyperspace travel, which essentially makes your travel star lane based, and it's very fast. But if there's a planet or system that you want to get to, and part of your star lane passes through a system that's controlled by someone else or blockaded by someone else, you're going to have to fight your way through that blockade if you want to get where you want to go. It's interesting to note too that when you're setting up the game, you can choose one of these as the only transportation type. So if you like games, space strategy games that use star lanes, and that's all you want everybody to use, then you can set it that way and you can have a totally different experience. And then lastly, you have Wormhole Travel, which is the one that I actually have some familiarity with. So that's what I'm going to go with. And this allows you to essentially instantly transport your ships anywhere within range of a wormhole projector. Think Mass Effect. These is basically Mass Effect generators, okay? So I go into the wormhole and I pop out where I want to go. If I want to go somewhere else, I can travel back to the system that sent me there, and then I can move on. It's near instantaneous travel. There is sort of a warm up. Your engine has to warm up and what have you, and the wormhole has to form. But once you enter it, you pop out at the other end extremely fast. Now, the balance to that is that it has a limited range. So if you want to extend said range, you have to build more wormhole projectors, these big things that you build with constructor ships, but it's easy enough to manage. Okay, and then you have ship appearance, and that's all this is. It doesn't affect anything else. I'll stick with the default. Okay, so there we are. Pacifist, fanatic materialist, we have intelligence, we have mass drivers, wormhole tech, and we have continental world type. So we're going to save that. Yes. And we're going to select. And now we have, yes, more options. I know, right? Now, this gets a little crazy here. So it goes from a small, quote unquote small or tiny 150 stars up to huge, which is 1,000 stars. What I would tell you is that unless you have a really beefy machine, you may not want to go up to, large or huge. You may have some performance problems because it's a lot. It's a lot. Once we get in, you're going to see that it's quite large. I actually was thinking about I would just play on small for this starting one. And I think I'm going to stick with that. This will allow us to make contact quickly and what have you. Seems reasonable to me for this first Let's Play. Now we can choose different galaxy shape, elliptical, spiral, 2-arm, ring. If you increase the size, it also increases or changes the options a little bit. So like if you go to 600, then you can have actually like a 4-arm spiral if you want. But we're going to do small. We're going to do 2-arm because I think that'll be interesting. And then you can select how many AI empires there are. By default, there's 11. You can put this up or down. We'll just leave that at the default. 11 sounds good. And then advanced AI starts. This means that the AIs are going to get some additional bonuses to start off. They don't get persistent advantages. It just gives them a little bit of a better start. Since this is my first play, I'm gonna say 2 of them get better starts, so that we'll potentially have some good rivals. And then difficulty, there's 3 choices: normal, hard, and insane. I'm most definitely going to be playing on normal for this first one. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you can actually restrict the type of FTL drive you want. So for instance, if you want this kind of space lane feel and that's how you want to play the game, then you can set it on hyperdrive and then everybody will be using that FTL type. We won't be doing that. We're going to say any, and let's go. All right, so here we go. We find ourselves in game. I know, right? Amazing. We made it. Yes. High five, everybody. Okay. Now, there's a lot to cover here, so I will try to do so as efficiently as possible. Let's go through the UI first. So over here to the side, you can see this there was a little panel there. If I hit O, I can bring it back. This is your outlier. This is a useful panel, I think, because you can basically grab anything you need from right here very quickly. Let's go through the rest of this. We've got the government key, empire, contacts, ship designer, situation log, technology, so that's your research tab, and then our resources, energy, minerals, and then influence. So energy and minerals, you basically are to construct anything, you're going to need minerals for the most part. And energy credits, while you do have to buy some things, mostly this is used for the maintenance of everything that you build. Influence right here, you can use to recruit different types of leaders, which I'll show you in a moment. You can also use it to enact edicts, which I'm also going to show you. But this is basically your political capital and influence. That's what it is. And it generates slowly over time. Then we've got our 3 different research bonuses: physics research, society research, engineering research. We'll set those in just a moment. And it's this society one that I want you to take, a note of. This is the one you're probably going to want to concentrate on, especially early on in the game, because this is where the techs like colony ships and being able to colonize different types of biomes and whatnot, that technology is in the society research tree. So we'll get into that more when we get into the actual lab itself. Then we've got strategic resources. You can get different types of minerals and energy sources and whatnot. We obviously don't have any of those at the start. Then we've got this directly controlled planets. We can effectively control 6. We have a base of 5. We're getting a +1 from our government type. As you get more and more planets, you break down things into sectors and then provide regional governors. And essentially they operate on their own and you receive the benefits of it, but no direct control. So you have to kind of decide, okay, what are the important planets that I absolutely want to control? Because I tend to be kind of wanting to micromanage everything. I want them all to be under my control. But as a friend of mine and I were talking about this the other day, he made a good point. He was like, yeah, hold on a second while I give commands to these 85 other colonies. So he's right. It did need to have something in place for it, and the game does. So, and then finally we have naval capacity. So the number of ships that we can have, and that's affected by spaceports and other bonuses and leader bonuses and what have you. But right now we can have a total of 12. Okay. Whew. That takes us through the top part of it. Let's see here. Let's go into it itself. Start with the government tab. Here's all of our stats. Here's our leader. We currently have no heir, but each day, yeah, there's a chance that we'll get one. That's fine. Your leaders, it's important to note that they all can die off, and they will die off. So it doesn't matter if it's a governor, a scientist, what have you. They will die eventually. Okay, empire effects. We've got minus 25% edict cost and plus 25% edict duration. So while we're talking about edicts, let's go into that real quick. Policies, here we go. So government policies tab. Now these are going to be edicts that you can enact that are global in perspective, right? So this is empire wide. There's also planet specific ones. We'll look at that when we look at a planet tab. So information quarantine, minus 10% ethics diversions. when we look at population on a planet, there'll be two stats. As a matter of fact, let's do that real quick here. Where's Earth? Come here, Earth. Okay, so if I look at this particular person right here that's doing some mining on Earth, here's the population, here's their bonuses. They're 72% happy. Again, the cap for how happy they can be is going to be set by the sort of the habitability of that world. So if you've got 80% or 90%, then that's what the happiness will be able to get up to. And there's buildings and policies and things that will affect their happiness. This divergence, ethics divergence score, is the chance that they're going to go their own way. I don't believe in what our empire believes in. I'm doing my own thing. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Okay. Now, sometimes they can change how they think and it'll change the traits that they have, and it might be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. So this -1 in my case, because I really don't want them to diverge, is how I want it. Like if this could be even more negative, great. So when we go over here and we're looking at policies, information quarantine, ethics diversions, minus 10%. Okay, so that would be good, but it's going to lower research speed by 5%. So I don't want that. But that -10%, as it's listed there in green, it is actually like a positive effect, even though it's listed as a negative number. So you got to be careful when you're looking at these things. Encourage free thought. This is to increase research speed. Then you've got 3 different research grants that you can enable, and it buffs up the one that you choose by 30% and then lowers the other 2 by 10. And I had mentioned to you that society research grants are really important early on. So I'm actually going to go ahead and enact that. It's going to cost us 0.75 of our influence, so almost half of our monthly influence to do this, but I feel like it's worth it. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to the Empire tab. Our basic information about the current planet that we have. It does have a governor. Let's take a look at the Leaders tab. So in here we've got governors, scientists, admirals, and generals. Generals will lead your ground forces. Admirals will lead your fleets. Scientists will do both lab work, or excuse me, category work, and then they'll also be assigned, or should be assigned, to your science ships themselves. As a matter of fact, you have a commander? Hey, you've got Boris. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was already on there. And so we can recruit new ones as we need them, and then we're going to spend influence again to do that. Factions, we don't have any factions yet, so we won't worry about that. Contacts, this is where we manage all of our relationships with other empires. We don't have anything to showcase that just yet. Ship designer, I'll get into later. Right now, it's not all that important. We'll save that for kind of future state. Now, technology, this is an important thing that you're going to want to do, and all this stuff you want to do before you unpause the game. So let's select research. Now, the way research works is broken into these 3 tiers: physics, society, and engineering. It's important to note that what research options you have are going to be different every time you play through, and as you complete one research and get a new set, what was there before might not always be available. Now, it might come up later, and the game does a pretty good job of telling you that, but I mean, you're going to have to be very aware of what you're choosing. Okay, so let's start with we'll start with society, because that's probably the most important one. And so you can see here we could get orbital hydroponic farms. I've actually never even seen this before, so that's new to me. We could get space combat doctrine, which is +10 naval capacity, which would increase this number right here. Or we can get New Worlds Protocol. Now this one shows up every time at the beginning, I believe. And this is the one you're always going to want to take. You want to get colony ship research as quickly as possible. So we're going to grab that. And we do have +32% right now, because we took that edict, right? So not only have we selected this right off the bat, but we've got this +32% to get it done. Okay, up here, I'm going to grab Power Plant 2. You know, early on, actually... Oh, that's... Yeah, I am going to grab this, because sometimes things can get eaten up early on by maintenance costs, so I am going to grab this. I was tempted to get physics labs, which is an upgrade for the basic lab, but I'm going to grab that. And then engineering, this is basically your ship and weapon stuff, this category. So we've got ion thruster, so that our ships could move faster. We've got engineering facility. That's an upgrade for the basic lab as well. Or we can get +5 army damage, +5 minerals. That seems the most useful early on, actually. Okay. We're getting closer to being able to unpause the game. I promise. I promise. Let's go down to the planet view because there's stuff to explain here. So you've got the planet summary. Here's the planet's governor. Again, we can change that and recruit a different person and what have you, but this is who we have right now. +2 happiness, -5% construction time, -6 blocker time. I'll go over that in a minute. Here's all the resource output that this colony is currently putting out. It has 100% score here, which essentially means that we can get up to that on happiness, and that's always going to be the case on your core homeworld. Currently have 7 population, and we have 5 extra food. It's got 16 tiles. Whatever the planet size is, and it ranges from like a low of like 8 or 9 up to like 25, this will dictate how many tiles you have. Right here, under the surface tab. So you can see there's things that are already constructed here, like for instance, right here we've got a power plant, and right here we've got the planetary administration, which is giving us 3 minerals, it's giving us 3 food, it's also giving these little adjacency bonuses to all the tiles around it. You want to be mindful where you build those on future colonies. And then you have these things right here. These are called tile blockers. Now, we can't clear this one. Why can't we clear it? Oh, we don't have the tech, I guess, but we can clear this. Yeah, sprawling slums we can clear. So I had mentioned the importance of the society research. So after you get colony ships, then other planet types, and then tile blockers of different types that you're going to want to research, so that you'll be able to get rid of these things and expand across the entire surface of a planet. So let's say you colonize a jungle world and you have that ability, but then there'll be tile blockers like dense jungle or wild animals or what have you. Until you get the requisite research for those tile blockers, you won't be able to remove them. So you might sit down on a planet that has like 15 spaces and only be able to use like 4. I've seen that happen. So bear that in mind if you get a little confused why you can't use every single tile. Also, tiles do generate intrinsically a base resource. So for instance, right here, this one's food. So if I wanted to really take advantage of it, if this planet's already got 5 over on food, but if I needed additional food for growth, what I could do is I could select this, build, and then do like a hydroponics, like I did just there. And when this thing is done, it's actually going to be, instead of +2 for hydroponics, it's going to be +3 because it's got a value here. Now, if I said, let's see, let's cancel that real quick. If I said I wanted to do a mineral silo here, I'm going to get a warning saying, hey, there's food here, dude. You sure you want to do this? And actually right now I don't want to do anything with it. You can also move population around. So like if I had a structure right here and it wasn't being worked by anyone, I can grab the population and move it. And since I don't need that food right now, that's exactly what I'm doing. And we can move view, and let's take a look at the planet summary. Now we're only up +1 food. But that's too good of a tile not to work, so we'll leave them there. You can also get robots later on that can do some of the manual labor for you. But we'll get into that as we go along. Okay, what else do we need from this tab? You've got your armies. I'm not going to get into this. You basically can have standing defenses. This is ground forces on this planet. You can recruit more as you go along. And then spaceport. Now this is pretty important. So take a look at the details here. This allows us to build all the other ships that we have access to. And as you research, we'll get new levels of the actual spaceport itself, as you can see here, like spaceport upgrade level 2. And that comes into play when we want to build more complex or larger ships. It also affects the types of modules, if you have them available, that you can put on said spaceport. So like right here, empty module slot. If we upgrade it to a level 2, we would have 2 more slots. But you actually have to have tech to put in here, be it solar panels or different kinds of weapons or different types of things that'll affect construction, and then you can pick what you want from here. But right now we just have a basic spaceport. Now let's talk about ships. Science ship. Its job is primarily to investigate and to research, as one could expect. We need it to survey even our basic system. Right now, when we click on things, it's going to say, I don't know what it is. It hasn't been surveyed. So we select the science ship and we say, hey, survey the system by right-clicking. And you can actually just do one if you want. Like, I just want to survey that. Or I can say I want to survey the whole system, which is what we're having to do. And it'll run around, scan everything, and report. If it finds something special that can be researched, we can opt to have it do that. Here's our little military fleet. Right now, it, consists of 3 little corvettes with no tech, with 75 military power, which basically means we can use them to scout around a little bit, but they're not going to fight any real fights for us. They're just not going to be able to do much. The last thing on the planet tab is going to be edicts list. Remember, we already enacted an edict that was global. There's also these different edicts that you can get into, that you can pay for. Early on, I don't think they're that helpful. Once you have additional colonies, they are. But like, for instance, Land of Opportunity, plus 10% attraction for migration. Yeah, nowhere to and fro to do that right now, so that's kind of pointless. Or building cost, minus 25%, construction time, minus 25%. This isn't that useful on your starting world, in my opinion. And neither is the Spirit of Science. Now, this one was actually a little bit misleading. Or, not misleading, but I didn't understand it, but now I think I do. Since this is plus 20, that sounds great, but it's on this planet, and this planet's not generating any. See? Physics, society, and engineering research, by default, they're not doing anything. So if I spent 112 influence, which I don't even have at this point, I'd be spending that for a 10-year edict to do something on a planet that couldn't do anything with it. Like, okay, so plus whatever % of 0 is still 0, right? So just be careful when you're looking at these, because at first I was like, oh, that's awesome, and I clicked on it, and then, yeah, realized afterwards it wasn't doing anything for me. So just be careful. Okay, speaking of science, just double check that. Are we good? Yeah, I think we're set. The situation log we'll get into as things come up, but I think, believe it or not, I can actually unpause the game. Yep. Okay, now, by default, you have, you're set on normal. There's slowest, slow, normal, fast, and fastest. I'm gonna set on normal for just a moment, because there's another thing I want to show you, which is the constructor ship. Okay. Oh, we have an heir to the Empire. Okay, good. Good deal. And is he or she any good? Crown Prince Boris. Plus 25 years leader span. Okay, that's good. Minus 15% frontier outpost build costs. Okay, that's useful. Okay, now, as soon as that ship's done scanning, I can show you what the constructor ship does. You can see right now we've got the option to build a wormhole projector, but there's no reason to do that in this system because it already has a wormhole projector. It should. Yeah, right there. There it is. You build those at the edge of a system.
Hostile fleet detected.
Hostile fleet detected. All right. Hold on. Let me go out to the galactic map. Evading hostile fleet? Really? We encountered someone here? Okay. I've never had that happen. It'll take long for the Malovian Collective to come across intelligent alien life. Fleet's report, human capital somewhat understates how the aliens appear. Okay. So, what do we got here? Oh, this is an actual alien vessel. Okay, this is very strange for this thing to show up this early like this. Okay, well, it's not another empire. It's an actual alien. So I guess what we're gonna have to do here, which I was not planning on doing, is building the military ships, some additional ones right off the bat. Hopefully this thing stays at the edge of the system. That's really strange. I've never seen that happen. Oh, okay, and then he went away. All right. That's what I thought. Okay. Get rid of that. We don't need those. And you there. Science ship. Go back to surveying, please. Okay, so you see Jupiter here, which was scanned. 2 energy credits a month. Take our constructor ship. And we can say build a mining station. That's what's currently available. There's these other things, terraforming station, outpost, what have you, but the only thing we have access to right now is a mining station, and then that +2 energy credits per month will come from that. Okay, now this is the system view. Let's go out to the galactic map and then zoom out. This might take a little bit of getting used to because you would think, oh, I'll just zoom in with a mouse wheel and then I'll zoom into the system, but that's not the way it works. So if I close the galaxy map, I'll go back, default to this system because it's the one that we have. If I want to go back to the galactic map, I just click here and then I can zoom in and out. And you can see how big this is in terms of area, and this is just, right, a small galaxy. Not very small, I'm telling you. Okay, let me select our fleet and I'll show you how the wormhole tech works. So right now, we can travel anywhere within that circle using the current wormhole projector. Now again, different techs work different ways. That's the way ours works. Anywhere in this, anywhere in this circle right here. The orange outline. Which is what we're going to use our science ship for as soon as it's done checking out everything out here. Do you scan something that'll do minerals yet? Here, let's put on detailed map mode there. Alright, we'll speed it up to fastest for just a moment.
Anomaly found.
Oh, we will leave that be for now because I want to finish this. There we go. Go back to normal speed and we'll grab the constructor ship and then we'll say, hey there, build a mining station there. Look at the surface here. Let's go ahead and build a power plant here, which generates energy, basically cash, right? Oh, we gained a level on the scientist, nice. Let's go ahead and do that right here. We're gonna need money for maintenance and whatnot. We need to build up a little bit of a stockpile. Alien vessels, interesting. Okay, let's go to the situation log. Okay, so when you encounter different aliens, that first one that came into the system, that was an actual, like, just sort of, I don't know if you want to say mindless or what have you, but that wasn't an empire. Right? It was just like a hostile alien. The second one that we've got a glimpse at, we can investigate it further by pulling the scientist off of society research, and in 6 months, in 180 days, we will find more information and then eventually lead to communication. There's two schools of thought here. Being able to talk to another alien race and being able to potentially trade with them and whatnot is important. I just don't feel like it's as important early in the game as trying to get colony ships. So I'm not taking my person off of it. I'm leaving them on. And let's speed up. Here, let's send our fleet out a little bit. Let's go check things out. And go there. Okay, mining station's done. Good.
Construction complete.
Surface construction's done. Nice. System survey is done, so let's grab our science ship. Go out here, and let's pick another planet to go take a look at, or another system. We'll go like this, and we'll say, survey system. And then what's going to happen... Okay.
Evading hostile fleet.
Oh, we went out there and immediately hostile fleet, so we had to run. Okay. Sheesh. Some hostile aliens out here, man. What's up with that? This is different every time you play. So, yeah. Oh, you can also spin the camera around, which I thought was kind of neat. That works. Zoom in. Look at that. Hey, what's going on? All right, we'll send our science ship back out somewhere. So obviously I'm explaining a lot of different mechanics in this, and this doesn't even cover everything. So as I go through into future episodes, I'll explain things as they come along, like the shipbuilder and combat and things like that. But I hope that you like this initial episode, which I'm referring to again as episode 0 in the playlist, and that you continue with me as we explore Stellaris in future episodes. If you enjoyed it, please consider hitting that thumbs up. I look forward to your comments and feedback. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Mal, and I'll see you later.